Hey everyone, my name is Sam Bashiry. I'm the founder of Broadband Solutions, amongst other businesses. I'm super excited to share with you guys my new venture, which is my podcast and my YouTube show called From Thousands to Millions. So the whole point is starting from thousands of dollars and building up an empire with millions and more. So the show, what is it about? It's about catching up with entrepreneurs, young or old, talking about business, talking about supercars, talking about the stories and how people started from the ground up and how they built their business. So why am I doing this? I'm doing it because I want to share the stories with everyone, because I know how hard it is to start a business. I know how hard it is to maintain a business. So the more we share, the more we can all benefit from it. So that said, tune into my YouTube show, tune into my podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and just listen and provide feedback and subscribe and follow me, and let's all share our ventures together. God bless and have a fantastic day. All right, hello everyone, welcome to my show Going From Thousands to Millions. I've got Sasha on today. Great to meet you and thank you for making the time, mate. I know everything's really busy these days, everyone's trying to do a million things, so I appreciate you making the time and coming on the show.
Pleasure, man. Pleasure. And I love the name. I love the name of the show. I didn't even know that until you just said that. So it's I love it. It's really, really cool, man. Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you. Look, I guess the whole point of this show is that we see a lot of entrepreneurs around the world, right? And what I want to really do is I want to highlight the real people, the guys that are hustling, the guys that came from nothing and built something in our own country, right? So for me, it's about not going and hunting the famous people or whatever. For me, it's about hunting the real people in our country. So I came across you on Instagram and, we just connected and, we spoke for the first time yesterday, never spoken before, and I didn't go and look you up at all because for me, I wanted this to be as raw as possible and I want it to be as real as possible. So it's a great opportunity, not only for me to get to know you for the first time, but for the audience. So that said, I want to get to know about you. So how old are you and where are you from? What's your background?
Yeah, awesome, man. I love the organic kind of nature of this as well. I've been on quite a number, and it's always like, all right, somewhat structured, but I think it's really beneficial for us to connect, and then also for the people viewing as well to just see a first time conversation being had as well. So yeah, awesome, man. So I'm 28 years old. I live now on the Gold Coast. So I've kind of moved around the country a fair bit. I used to live in Sydney, also lived in Melbourne for a period of time, and actually grew up in a tiny little town outside of near Toowoomba, if you may know where that is. It's like a small rural part of inner kind of western Queensland. So tiny little speck of a town, and it's been a wild journey. The last kind of, particularly the last 5 years for me has been the most kind of, transformative in a lot of different ways, man. So, that's essentially a little bit about my background. I know we'll dive deep into a lot more things shortly, but
That's phenomenal. 28 years old, right? I can't believe it. Like, it's changed so much. I remember being 28. I had no idea what I was doing with my life. Back then, there was no Instagram. I think Facebook was quite new. I was absolutely lost. I'll go as far as saying, I was an absolute loser because I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. 28 years old, finished high school, a uni dropout. I was at uni. I went to uni because it made my parents happy because, I had to get that education, which I did not enjoy whatsoever.
Right.
So to see someone like yourself at your age and the maturity, it's phenomenal. So tell me, finish high school?
Yeah. I did. Finished high school. Yeah.
And then what did you do?
So I first, I actually was enrolled straight into university for architecture. I actually, did quite well at school. I got a really good kind of OP or rank score, whichever way you look at it. And I enrolled immediately into architecture, but I decided to have what do they call a gap year type thing. And my older brother at the time, he was working in the mines in Northern Territory. And he was like, look, man, come out here, you can make so much money, just have 1 year, have a break from school and study and just, make some cash, right? And so I was like, all right, cool. I'll put this on hold for now. And I'll go move to Tennant Creek was the name of the town. If you were to place your finger on the middle of Australia, it's there.
Yeah.
Like, it is this speck of a town that is like population of maybe 2,000 people. And so I went pretty much directly from school as a fresh kind of 17-year-old out into this, middle of nowhere desert town, and lived there for almost 2 years. Worked in the mines and was making pretty good money, but I guess I just got really sick of it. I think I always had this kind of somewhat like narcissistic, I think when I look back now, appeal of myself. I was like, I'm pretty good, right? I'm made for something better. Okay. Yeah. And, I'm made for a great life, which screwed me over in a lot of different ways. But I think most people can probably relate to that kind of inner sense of narcissism a little bit, thinking you're a little bit better than most people. I kind of suffered from that pretty bad, and moved back to Brisbane with a construction company, Hutchinson Builders, one of the bigger builders in Australia, and worked with them for quite some time, probably until I was around about 23, so probably around 4 years almost. And then being in Brisbane, being around, I guess, more opportunity. I was making still, reasonable money working as an apprentice and working my way up into, the kind of okay construction role, and just was living a really like lavish lifestyle for my age, way outside of my means. Yeah. And I think because I was coming from a very, very poor family, I always had this sense that I needed to prove to my family that I'm something, right? Like, I'll show you, I'll make something great of myself. And I didn't really have too much focus on how it was made. I was like, I just need this, right? It was this like deep, like lack in myself. And I'm like, I need to just prove to people, like, you watch, I'll show you type thing. And that kind of pushed me down a path of, a lot of poor decisions, a lot of, substance abuse and kind of years of ruining myself. Almost went to jail, was homeless for a period of time, and wound up in 6 figures of debt, and contemplating some pretty dark thoughts. So that was kind of me at about 24 and a half years old. And just kind of felt like I was done. I was like, you got to this point, like, what have you done, man? You fucked your life, and pretty heavy. So kind of, and I'm not sure what it was. There was one particular, I do know what it was. One particular instance during that time where I was kind of having a bit of a heated discussion with my ex-partner, and she kind of left me because of the state that I was in, and she came back, we had a chat, and she just looked at me in like such disgust, and she just like how could I ever be with you? I can look at you, like, and just like I felt like just like worthless, right? And always wanted to be, still had that, in a sense of, I'm going to be something one day, what you wait kind of thing. And I kind of just like, said to her, I'm like, you watch, I'm going to be successful as fuck. Like, so much power and certainty like came out of me when I said that. And I, from that kind of moment, really went on this just hard splitting, like as if it was like do or die, which it was really. And started my first business after that period of time, which was an automotive repair business, repairing hail damaged cars. So really kind of foreign niche, just like random, so much uncertainty, and then didn't have any idea, but I was just like, this is it. This is what you're going to do. And I knew some people were in the industry making good money. So I was like, I can do this, right? They can do it. I can do it. I've got this, right? And just went all out, as if like it was like I said, do or die, within a period of about 19 months, close to 2 years. I paid everything back, and bought my first property that was, now is worth like about $1.5 million. So just really cool, man. Like, and it sounds mad, and it's like this cool thing, but
no, it's not mad, and it's not mad. And I love your honesty. I love how raw and real you're being, because I've been there before too, right? Yeah. it's weird. You know, you meet people and you start seeing commonalities in between things, stories. And you're 100% right. You know, I was the same. I felt like I had a chip on my shoulder because I thought I was never good enough. I never got, you know, the recognition that I thought I deserved, especially from, and when I started being successful, even then I got it from everybody else except my own parents, right? So I always thought I was never good enough. So I had this chip on my shoulder, and exactly like you, I thought I had something to prove. And it's interesting what you said again. It's so real because when you come from nothing and you start to discover money, you know, number one, you're very generous with it because you want to share that with everybody, which opens up the door to a lot of people that are not desirable kind of people to be with, but all you're doing is really sharing it because you know what it feels like not to have it, so you're happy to share it. And you know, people say, oh, people are so quick to judge and say, oh, that's a bad person, or that's a bad character, oh, this is not a good person. But until you've been in that situation, you can't say that. You know what I mean? You don't know what it feels like, you know, to have nothing and then have access to everything. And I think if you're a normal human being, you do get consumed by it. And I got consumed by it at some stage too. So I appreciate you being honest and real about that because you know, we have this tall puppy syndrome as well in Australia. Oh, it's really quick to cut people down, right? But hey, put yourself in that person's situation and then you'll see. And then what you just said before, that moment where your ex-girlfriend said, you know, I've been through that moment too. It's like a wake-up call. It's like, fuck, this is not me. I'm better than this. I know what my real character is. I know who I am. I know what I'm about. And this is not me. And that's a changing moment. And it's great that, you know, it's so similar what you've been through.
It's phenomenal.
You know?
I want to understand a little bit about yourself as well. I think, tell me a little bit about your own story, you know, leaving high school and some of the things that you went through as well.
Similar, mate. You know, for me, I went high school, I went to uni, and for me, I had that moment. And that moment for me was being the driveway of my parents' house because I lived at home. And you know, I think I was 26, 27. I looked in the mirror. I had a green RAV4. I still remember. I looked in the rearview mirror and I started bawling my eyes out, man. I started crying. I felt like a failure. I felt like a phony. I was this cool kid at uni that had a lot of friends. You know, it was the cool kid. But at the end of the day, I had no direction. I didn't know where I was going with my life. And I reversed the car and I went to Centrelink. Back then, they had these little computers, the touchscreen computers. Computers was kind of new. Internet was very new back then, dial-up days. Pressed the internet, came up. I got a receipt. I went to the counter, applied for a job, $7.50 an hour. Worked as a help desk officer at a company called ESA. And that's when my journey started in the whole tech business, you know. And I remember my friends used to give me shit about, oh man, what are you doing $7.50 an hour? You're a loser. What are you doing? I'm like, and for me, it didn't matter. It was an opportunity to learn. It was an opportunity to set myself up. And everything went from there. So tell me, so you did the how repair stuff. I actually know about that. I know a lot of my friends that did it too. So what happened then? So you did that for a number of years, and then what's next?
Well, I did that for a number of years, and one of the things that I've realized is probably I was speaking to one of my coaches, and he kind of highlighted to me as it, you know, might be a little bit of a concern in the future because what I've developed because of I guess that whole catalyst of, you know, the pain and the suffering that I went through, you know, all that loss, which led to massive growth, right? And I think subconsciously I've almost picked up this pattern of like, if I'm doing really good, I need to be experiencing some pain and suffering to be like, boom, again. Yeah. So it's like this almost alarming a little bit because I need to be in this state of like urgency and like a little bit of like pain to really be grinding.
Yep.
So it's something I'm really working on. But in terms of what happened, I was doing that for a number of years. You know, I've got a number of properties through that, doing really well. Yep. And naturally, a lot of people had looked to me and they're like, dude, like I saw you like 2 years ago to 3 years ago. Like what happened? What did you do? What was this shift? Like how did this happen? Right. And so one of the bigger parts that I recognize in my character now is, I guess, really connecting to people, right? I deeply love seeing people, my clients, people around me doing well. Like it fills me with joy every time I jump out of like a training call. I'm just like beaming with energy. Like it lights me up like nothing else. And so I had this idea that I wanted to, you know, essentially train people, teach people through some of the practices, some of the learning, some of the lessons that I had been through personally, because, you know, like I've proven it to myself, and I kind of spent, you know, months like dissecting the whole thing and what were the key elements, how did it happen, what were all the transformational moments, and really began seeking my own kind of mentors and people to work with as well. And from that time began to really shift into the space that I'm in now. So, you know, working with a number of clients, began to scale up and learned a lot more about, you know, sales and marketing. You know, reached out to Jordan as well, and actually went to a mastermind at his house last year with 9 other entrepreneurs, and we really just, you know, networked together, and it was a phenomenal experience, right? And pitched him on the idea that I had to, you know, really blow my brand up in Australia and take this idea into something bigger. Because I was like, dude, like, I don't play small. I want to go massive. I want to go
all
massive.
All in on that.
Exactly. So he was like, look, let's do this. I want to come. I've been meaning to come to Australia, and I've been looking for the right person to do it. So he's like, I love what you're doing. Yeah. Let's put something together. Let's do some events together. I want to come down there. I want to work with you, and I want to put your brand on the map massively. And I'm just like sitting there, I'm like, let's do this. So I was just the rocket fuel that has propelled me for, you know, the last 6 months leading up to the event that I just finished in February, which was just, you know, phenomenal. And I guess another example of some of the lessons that I've tried to also replicate with my clients as well is, I find that when you go into something, like whether you're starting a new business or you're going down some new path and you've never done it before, you have no, I guess, you cannot really clearly see what the steps are to get there, right? You've got this idea of what it takes to build a business, for example, and you're like, okay, cool. So I've got this small amount of knowledge here, and I think it's probably going to take, you know, this, probably a little bit of that. I probably need to do this for this much time, and it'll get me there. But so really naive, really kind of, you know, no idea what really it takes to get to that space. So, and it works in 2 ways. Obviously, if you're too naive and you don't know, it completely fuck you. Yeah. But then in the same token, if that naivete is leveraged with enough action, you can kind of set a new path for achieving something, right? That other people will look to and they'll be like, what the, like, have you done this before? How did you do that? But it's because you're not coming to the table with some like preset kind of predefined way of doing things. You just go, I'm doing this, right? And so the whole event game was essentially that for me. I went into it like, yeah, cool, you know, a couple thousand people, you know, no problem, right? Never had done anything. I can't even do a fucking birthday party. I'm like, yeah, let's do this. And so ridiculous experience of like learning as I love to learn, just like in the heat of the fire. And every day was just like challenge after challenge. And in terms of the outcome, the event was just incredible. You know, we had essentially just under a sold out room in Melbourne, and Sydney we had, you know, 1,000 and something people, which was about 80 seats short of a sellout show as well. So, you know, just, you know, so proud to even say that. I'm like, man,
you should be, man. That's phenomenal. You should be. You know, I picked up a few things. Number one was being kind enough to share your knowledge with others, right? And that is so powerful, right? And it's such a big thing. You're actually, you're feeding off giving.
Yeah.
Right? So you've gone on this journey, and it's a real journey, right? You're not teaching people based on reading books. You're teaching people based on your journey, you know, and I'm big on that. Like, I hear people talk about, this and that, but they've never gone out and done anything, just read books and listened to audios, right? But you've actually gone and done it. But then you've gone, you know what? I can share this experience with everybody else, and you've done that. And that's a massive thing. You're actually giving, and you're receiving because you're giving, right? And you're being real about it, which is phenomenal. What I want to know is, what made you do that course? Because I know a lot of people, you know, that what made you get up, and I'm assuming you went overseas to do this? You went to his house? Yeah. Okay. So tell me this, because a lot of people go, I should do this, I should do that, I should go and see, you know, this event. But what was the trigger point? I'm assuming it costs you a fair bit of money, right? So there's a bit of investment that you have to put into it.
Absolutely.
What made you do it?
So I had been for essentially since about January 2019 until for probably even the end of 2018, I was speaking to my fiance and I was like, I was hearing nothing but, oh, Sasha, you're doing great. And like, man, like you're doing really well. And it was just all this praise, right? Which, it's nice, but as I'm sure you can also appreciate, if you're hearing that, that's a fucking alarm bell, right? But I was like, I need to get myself around a higher level, a higher caliber of person, right? And I was saying it, I just kept saying it to my fiance. I'm like this is not cutting it. I need to level up. I need to be around higher performing people. I need to be around these BA players because look, if that's where I want to be, I can't be swimming around here with the little fishies, right? And so I just kept saying it. And I was working with one of my clients and he had mentioned that he was doing some of Jordan's sales training. And at that time, look, I had obviously, watched the movie, never read the book, never done any of his actual training, but just essentially watched the movie. I knew who the guy was, never done any of his content. And what happened was I downloaded his audio book, The Way of the Wolf, and I had read a lot of sales, done a lot of sales before, and this just like struck me. I was just like, this is different. This is so different and so tangible. You can walk down the steps, implement that, and you will get a result today. Yeah. So just powerful system. I consumed it, listened to it again and again, probably 6 or 7 times. And from there, I went and enrolled into one of his online programs, like a $99 type thing. Okay. And naturally start getting some of the emails from him as well. And then there was the opportunity for the mastermind. And it was, really forthright about it. Like, this is the cost, which essentially I'm actually, I'm happy that it was the exchange rate back then and not now. Otherwise it would have been a lot more. It was a lot of money, more money than I'd invested in myself. And with that came a lot of doubt. I was like, am I worth this? This is more than anything. And I was, questioning, is this really worth that type of investment? And I kind of put it down to I was like, okay, great. Like, the person that I want to be up there, they would, without thinking, invest that kind of money in themselves, right? If there was an opportunity to learn from someone incredible, they would, let's do this, right? And where am I trying to get to? I'm trying to get up here, all right? So does it make sense then for me to then replicate the behavior and the thinking of these people? Yeah. And I was like, this money right now is going to, like, who's to say that 40, 50 grand is not going to make me 500 grand next year? Okay, cool. I'm like, let's do it. Right. So, jumped in on it and obviously answering the biggest kind of open loop in my mind, what I was saying, that I need to be around a bigger circle. I need to be around some bigger players, which it was that coupled with my own kind of self-analysis that I was like, I'm doing this. Right.
So you invested in yourself, You invested in gaining more knowledge, which is something that a lot of people don't do. We're happy to go buy Gucci, Balenciaga, all this stuff, which is all cool. But when it comes to investing in ourselves, we start thinking, oh, wow, I'm going to spend, 10, 20, 30, whatever it may be. Oh, wow. Oh, should I be doing that? But when you go, when we go and buy, $3,000 shoe or $10,000 bag or, 20 grand suit, we just drop the money, no problem.
No question.
Yeah. It's interesting. And that's one of the things that I always say to people. I go, you know what, mate, if you want to grow, you've got to invest in yourself, 100%. And money's just a tool, right? Money's a tool. And people go, oh, money's evil. Money's this. I personally, my personal opinion, money's not evil. Money's just a tool. It's what you do with that tool, right?
Hold on.
And one of the things that I've learned, and I've learned this because I've gone through it the hard way, not because I know. I've learned my lessons because I've blown a lot of money on stupid things, and I've looked back and go, fuck, I can't believe I did that. It was pretty cool back then, but when I look back, like, fuck, that was pretty stupid, right? Yeah. But money enables you to invest in yourself and get a bigger return. Get a bigger return in terms of, I'll go as far as saying self-worth, because you deserve it and it allows you to grow as a person, but also in terms of knowledge and power that you can, and this is what you've done again, you've taken that and you've returned it back to other people. You've actually gained that knowledge, right? Yeah, of course it's a business. We don't do things for free. That's how life is. But you've gained that knowledge and you brought that knowledge and you've spent that knowledge, and you push that knowledge across to thousands of people.
Yeah.
And out of those thousands of people, there's going to be at least one or two or three, a lot more. Let's just say even one. If you made a difference in one person's life by doing what you have done, you've done your bit,
Yeah.
and that's what's powerful, and that's what I love. And
Yeah.
for you to grab that, and also to bring that opportunity back to our country, because I love Australia, right? I'm massive. I'm massive, right? So,
amazing.
Yeah, so good on you for doing that. So tell me, so you go there, you go through the course, and then you're like, well, there's an opportunity to bring this back and share this knowledge back with people here, which is, it's a great thing to do. And then you go, okay, and then you get it done. So let's say, what event did you do first? What was the first event? Which city?
Melbourne was the first on the 19th, and then Sydney was the day after.
Okay, so night before the event. What are you thinking?
Awesome.
What have I done?
And I don't know, call me weird, but like throughout the whole process, like I think due to what I went through when I was younger, all that loss and pain and suffering, like I built really, really strong stress calluses on my mind. So I managed the stress. I mean, like I was stressed out of my mind. Like I was really, really stressed, and I was like, but at the same time, the night before that first event, because I had done, and I look back now, and I had done 10 times the preparation that I needed to, right? In terms of my presentation, in terms of like everything, the team was in place, all the collateral, all the logistic. There was not one thing that I was concerned about, and it was simply a matter of me surrendering to this experience. I was like me wiring myself, all evening and not sleeping is gonna destroy tomorrow. So all I did, I meditated for about 45 minutes until about 12 at night. Woke up 5 a.m. and got dressed in a new suit and headed over there. And like it was actually, that was probably the most peaceful time out of the whole moment. Like there's a lot of periods beforehand where you get sidelined with a massive blow, or there's just like some unexpected massive disaster, and those things threw me off quite heavily, and I felt really, really overwhelmed in a lot of those periods. Like I broke down and was like bawling my eyes out sometimes because like I can't fucking deal with this. But I just kept persisting and pushing through, and I think because I did over 105 hours of my presentation just again and again and again. So when I'm on stage, I don't need to look at the slides, I don't need to look at anything. Like I know what's coming next so well. I'm just like, yes, connect with you, right? And it was on a subconscious level. So I think preparation wise was the key. I would not have been able to do what I did without preparing for ridiculous amounts of hours. So interesting. I mean, most people were like, dude, like, were you sleeping? What was going on? You're probably losing your mind. And I was like, I don't know, like, should I be? Like, I probably should be, but like, funnily enough, I wasn't actually panicking. I was, especially that night before, it was quite a kind of beautiful experience and it was almost like sad because I funnily enough, like the whole preparation, it's this massive like roller coaster that's leading into this crescendo. And as you come closer and closer to the summit, you realize that the end is near, and all that excitement and thrill of what's happened and how it's happened is coming to an end, and you can see it ending, and you're like I'm so excited, but like, what happens after? Because it's become such a part of your life, the whole preparation and the whole thought of the experience, that whole like future pacing, what's going to happen. And then you're like the day before and you're like, wow, like I'm thrilled, but at the same time, like I'm kind of scared for what's going to happen after. Like who am I without this event? You know what I mean? So it's surreal. It's absolutely surreal, man.
I totally get that. And you're the same person as you were before, but all you've done is just step up. And it's interesting. People go, oh, I have to go to school, I have to learn experience. Oh, I have to do an apprenticeship, I have to do this to be able to do something big, something different. But some people just step up. You got to. I'm a massive believer of having confidence, not arrogance. I hate arrogance, but confidence, but also self-belief. Right? If you don't believe in yourself, then how can anybody else believe in you? And as far as I'm concerned, you can achieve anything you set your mind to. It comes down to you as a person, and it comes down to why you're doing it. And as long as you're doing it for the right reasons, you give it a go, and it's all real, and people appreciate it. You always smash it out, you know. And you always say, you know, if you give something a go, what's the worst thing that can happen? Doesn't work out, at least you gave it a go and you learned from it, right? So I really appreciate that. So tell me, what do you do for fun? You know, you mentioned meditation, which is quite interesting actually, because you know, I've met a lot of very successful people, and one of the things that it always came up was meditation, right?
Yeah.
So what does that do for you? Is that something that's part of your everyday routine? And how do you meditate? Because, you know, I tried meditation, and my mind never stops. So I couldn't stop like laughing and that. So I couldn't do it. So my meditation, you know, was and is, I turn my phone off for half an hour, and I just go for a walk. And, you know, for me, I'll go for a walk. I don't go for a walk with someone else. I'll go by myself. And that allows me to recognize where I am in my life. It allows me to appreciate what I've achieved. It allows me to appreciate what I have in terms of my family and friends, and really kind of grounds me and clears my head and allows me to put everything in perspective, because I'm constantly doing a million things. And I learned probably 5-6 years ago, you know, I've been doing this for, you know, I started my business 15-16 years ago, and that, you know, I got to a stage that I was not appreciating anything. I was just too busy creating, right? And that, you know, I was not stopping and taking in that, wow, where was I 15 years ago? Where am I today? God, I'm lucky. God, I'm blessed. And thank you, God, right? So that's what I do. So what do you do? Tell me.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, man. I think that's a really unique way of doing it. I think, you know, I don't like to get caught up in the practice, or being one of the people that, you know, you need to do this and you must sit here. You know, the result and the outcome is what you do it for, right? So for you, if it's about, you know, disconnecting from the external, you know, material world and developing appreciation and gratitude, that's super effective. For me personally, I've worked with a gentleman called Dr. Joe Dispenza, and a phenomenal guy, like teaches meditation in a way that's quite unique and quite different from anyone else that I've kind of understood it. And so for me, essentially, it's a daily kind of practice. And generally speaking, I'll kind of, you know, I start my day really quite early. You know, most mornings I do a lot of work in the US, so it's like, you know, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 1 a.m. So it's really quite early, and that kind of also fits in quite nicely with my meditation schedule as well, because generally speaking, I like to do it before 5 a.m. So, you know, there's reasons for that. Like chemically, your brain is in a really receptive state. Your melatonin levels are really high as well, which allows for kind of a deeper transcendental experience where you actually travel, if you will. You know, you have some experiences. And for me, I'll just kind of sit in a, you know, kind of cross-legged position for 45 minutes, 90 minutes, an hour, and, you know, just not move. That's my, I guess, focus, because I think the biggest thing during the day is there's stimulus everywhere. You know, you're constantly getting pulled left from right, notification, people, what's going on, this thought, and to sit in a place and like realize and just have complete like awareness of like your mind, like you said, just going every direction possible. It's trying to pull you out of that. Like, it's like, get up, let's go. What's going to happen? How much money? Like what's happening, right? It's wild, right? And like, for me, like the ultimate form of discipline is just sitting there and being like, no, motherfucker, you're not leaving, right? And it's like your back's hurting, you know, your legs itchy, there's a mosquito biting you, and it's like, I'm not moving. And that for me, it allows me to really just get in touch with myself a lot as well, and develop a lot more of a connection to this, as well as really come out and feel victorious of you know, conquering this mini. I don't like the idea of conquering, but there's a big sense of gratitude and appreciation for yourself after you've completed something like that. So for me, that's kind of what it looks like. Yeah. And it's after that, I like to just set some kind of intention for the day, which is essentially like, you know, I'm going to achieve these things, and by the end of the day, I'd like to achieve, like, just kind of not goals, but really kind of deliverables more
Yeah.
so.
Yeah,
Expectations.
I love that. And it's like self-discipline, right? And we need self-discipline. And, I think discipline is one of the most important things in life, having self-discipline, because there's a lot of things out there, and, you got to teach yourself that, yeah, it's there, but it doesn't have to be done. I've got to focus on the goals. I've got to focus on what I've got to do. And it's like people come up with a million ideas. Yes, we can all do a million things, but that's great. No, I'm going to focus on what I'm doing, And one of the things I said on Instagram the other day was that, these are challenging times, right? And it's hurting a lot of people. In a way, it's actually giving a lot of people a kick in the ass to fucking, get on and do things that they've never done before. Being able to push themselves harder and actually just a kick in the ass to get things done. It's unfortunate for a lot of people because a lot of people are suffering. Their businesses are, not moving forward and all that kind of stuff. But I think at the end of the day, what it really comes down to is, having self-discipline and focusing on what you're doing. And this is my personal opinion. I see a lot of people scrambling to do a million different things. That's not related to what they are doing, and losing their focus. Right. And for me, I think it's, and unfortunately sometimes you have to do that because you've got no other options. So I kind of get that. But at the same time, it's really important to focus on the goals, on what you're doing, make it better, innovate, do things differently. Right. So that said, what do you do for fun? What do you do for downtime? What do you do for fun?
Yeah. So for fun, I do. I mean, it's something that I consciously need to, set aside fun time, right? Because it's like almost I'm kind of at this point where I need to, things are moving at such a fast rate, and not by any intention or not by I guess it's like things just happen, and it unless I consciously say, okay, for this period of time, we are going for a walk in the park, and I'll take my fiance, we go for a drive, and we go, and just leave everything alone. Unless I actually make that concrete decision, it doesn't really happen, just because something else will get in the way that somehow takes higher priority, right? So it'll just pull me away, and the next thing it's like a whole nother Sunday's gone, and I'm like, oh shit. So fun wise, typically I do like to, with my fiance, when we can, go to the movies. That's something that we kind of, love doing every now and again. And apart from that, also just getting out into nature as well. Ideally, once every weekend we'll go for a big walk, or just kind of reconnect a little bit, because, to be honest, she doesn't see much of me during the week. So it's nice just to, remind ourselves a little bit of, all right, cool, we still love each other. I'm still here. Although, I'm a bit distant during the week, I'm still here for you, type thing. And so that's probably my fun. Outside of that, I would say, training something that I love doing as well. I'm pretty kind of passionate about that, keeping my body looking good and healthy, and I feel good about it. So, that's like 45 minutes a day. But that's essentially it, man. I would say. What about yourself? What things? I see you've got a few cars as well.
Yeah, I love cars. I've always liked cars, man. I would say car fanatic, but for me, I love cars because I love rewarding myself.
Yeah.
Okay? For me, I grew up with nothing, and I can say I built everything myself. Right. I obviously was blessed enough to, as the business grew, to build a team around me, and I wouldn't be where I am without my team. So, all the credit to them. But I worked my ass off, and I'm a massive believer of rewarding yourself, and rewarding yourself with things that actually mean something to you. So I love cars. I'm passionate about them. And you know what it's done for me is it's actually about just cars. It's opened up so many doors to people that I would normally not even have the opportunity to meet. So I've met a lot of, through, I do a tour to Monaco every year. I do a tour to Italy, and it's opened up so many doors to people that have common interests, but people that I've become long-time friends with now, lifetime friends with, because that's opened those doors for me that normally wouldn't open for me, right? So I love that, and I love exercising. When I was your age, I was a gym junkie. I loved it because it made me, I used to be quite a big boy, and it made me feel good about myself. But I'll tell you what, mate, now what it does for me is mentally, I'm 42, and mentally at 42, when I exercise, it makes me feel invincible. I love it. So I don't, you know, my thing's gone from looking good to feeling good. And I tell you, if I don't exercise every day, I actually feel like a different person. I don't have the energy anymore. But it's so phenomenal and it's so important because it just releases those endorphins and it just makes me feel so good, you know, and allows me to do what I want to do. So yeah, that's what I do, mate. You know, and my family, I'm blessed enough to have 2 kids. I've got 2 daughters and I have an amazing wife that I've been with for 20 years.
Wow, that's phenomenal. I love it.
So I must be doing something right. so look, man, I love spending time with my girls. You know, I'm very, very blessed to have them in my life. I wouldn't be where I am today without them. Full stop. Yeah. Right? They've had a massive role to play in my success in life and the person that I've become. Without them, I wouldn't have anything. Right. So that said, what's next for you? What's next from here?
So the goal, I mean, the goal prior to all this COVID-19 stuff happening, I had some plans and still do to bring out another big high ticket kind of speaker. To kind of the second PushPeak Summit, which is, you know, we'll see how that goes. But I mean, everything's in the pipeline and it's kind of set to go. So that's still going to happen. I mean, it might just be postponed a little bit, but you know, my goal is to really just develop myself, you know, in the Australian market initially, build my brand, continue doing speaking events around Australia. And I also, as part of my bigger events, I've got now pretty much, you know, a good client base that I'm going to continue doing smaller boot camps and trainings with as well. So the idea is really at this point right now is to build, you know, a community of people that I train and work with, you know, in different levels, you know, startup entrepreneurs that I can train in a bigger community. And then I've already got, you know, a number of, you know, higher ticket clients that work with me on a bit more of an intimate, close level, and building that into a, you know, a really longer term play where I see myself, you know, owning a lot of real estate around the country. My big thing that I don't really share with too many people is I want to, you know, own a big skyscraper that has similar to Donald Trump, you know, SK on top of it.
I love it, man. I love it. I used to have a hotel called the Bashiry.
Yeah,
where are we going tonight? We're going to the Bashiry. So I love that. I fucking love that. I totally get you. That's my dream. Where are we going tonight? We're going to the Bashiry, right?
Yes, I love it. I love it. It's so good. It's so good.
I love it, man. So that's pretty cool. And you know what, man? I have no fucking doubt that you're going to achieve that and more. So all the fucking power to you. I've got one question, final question for you, which is the only question that I actually ask everybody. If you had any advice for the, you know, the kids out there or the grown-ups, whoever, no matter what, people that, you know, that are struggling to know what they want to do, people that don't know what they want to do, what would that be? What would you say to them?
I would say the idea of finding your passion, like going out and searching for something that you love and you're passionate about, I kind of see that as a bit of a myth, right? I find that you become passionate about, for me, for example, the whole hail industry, doing that, great industry. I hated what I did. I didn't like anything about it, but I was wildly passionate about it because it built into me a crazy amount of discipline, work ethic, operational skills, how to build a team, how to actually operate in business, right? So I hated what I did, but the entire skill set that I developed over the time was wildly beneficial for my future. And people get so caught up in what they do, that they forget like what it does for them, right? So my biggest piece of advice would be to forget about searching for this illusory thing that you need to do for the rest of your fucking life. Just pick something and stick to it like a pit bull until you see results in it, because you will see results if you stick with it long enough, and you'll develop passion and you'll develop love for what you do as well. So for me, based on my experience, that's probably the biggest takeaway that I would tell anyone to have. Yeah.
That's fantastic, man. I actually totally believe in that. You know, you made sacrifices to learn things that you needed, the tools, and you built that and to enable you to be where you are today. Mate, so it's been great having you on. And, you know, the more of these I do, I don't know, maybe I'm lucky. I'll get the people that are real and raw. They come on. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what's happening. But honestly, no, seriously, like, I really, really appreciate you being honest. I really appreciate you being open, and I really appreciate you sharing your experience, because, you know, we don't need to do this. We do it because we want to share our experiences with other people. It's out of love, right? We don't want to be famous. We don't want to make money. We're not doing any of that stuff with this. This is about sharing people's stories that are real like yourself. So once again, thank you for coming. It's lovely meeting you, right? And mate, what's your Instagram? So where can people find you?
Yeah, I usually hang at the most on Instagram. So it's just Sasha, Sasha _ Karabut, Karabut. I probably should be wearing one of the shirts that you've got on so people can see. That's gangster. I love that.
You know why I'm wearing this? Because I've been isolated alone. So my wife and kids are at the in-laws because my wife's got a surgery on Thursday. So man, I've never done washing. So, so I'm looking around going, fuck, I had to wear one yesterday, a black one. I found a white one today. I'm like, all right, I'll put it on. But yeah, I'll send you one.
I'll definitely, I'll have to get some made up. That's awesome, dude.
No, thanks,
awesome.
Man. It's great.
Really enjoyed it, man. Really enjoyed having a chat. Awesome.
Thank you. And I want to say thanks to everybody. And, you know, you're gonna upload this. We're going to upload it soon on iTunes, Spotify, and the YouTube channel. So guys, thanks for having us, and thanks for listening to us, and God bless. And it's good to have you.
God bless. Appreciate you guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you.